going to be making the antenna for this little moth dude over here. And I'm just going to take you guys through how to do that in ZBrush. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to crease the top edges of this cylinder, and that will come up here in just a second. But we're just going to make it smaller, make it longer, make it smaller, make it longer, make it smaller, and make it longer. And then we'll just frame up by pressing F. And I think that looks pretty good for now. So now the reason why I creased this up here first is because I'm going to go in and divide the geometry, because whenever we're going to be working with this bend curve here in just a second, we want to make sure we have enough geometry, otherwise it's just not going to work. So I'm going to do it maybe like 4 times, up to you guys. And then the reason why I creased this edge up here is because if I wouldn't have done that, this whole thing would have just like fallen down and it would have been like really weird to work with. So then I'm going to go and delete the lower geometry so I can see how much I have. That should definitely be enough. Okay, so back to frame up, and then we'll go into this little cog right here that says customize, and we'll hit bend curve. The first thing that you're going to notice about this is that it's going to have a bunch of these little switches. The one that we're mostly going to be concerned with today is going to be this one up here. These other ones change the axis. This one changes the smoothness of the curve, so you're really not going to see anything quite yet. And this one also changes the smoothness of the curve. And we're not really going to mess with those two. We're mostly just going to be focusing on this one. So I want to have enough, but not too many. So when we're looking at the reference right here, I'm going to be making these little guys first, and then I'll make this big guy second. So pull that back down. So I mostly just want to focus on this top section, so I'll go back to my little orange guy over here, and then I'm just going to take that one. And I want to make sure I'm on a very specific plane, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to lock the screen so that way it doesn't do anything funny. So I'm just going to move this over and pull this up. And now something else that I can do with this, now that I'm working with this one, you see that we have some new controls right here. So this one is going to be a twisty guy. This one is going to make it larger or smaller. And this one is going to make it larger or smaller in a different axis. So I'm going to go ahead and make it smaller on both of these axes, so it looks more like an antenna. And maybe we'll just move it up just a little bit. Cool, and then I'll unlock the screen so I can move out, and then I'm going to turn off my polyfill so I can kind of see how everything looks. And I think that looks fine. So then I'm just going to duplicate this. And you'll notice this new one doesn't have the same history, so I'm going to go back to the other one, and I'm just going to go all the way back. And the reason why I did this is because I don't necessarily need all of the history for this one, and it's a lot easier to just use one that I already have kind of set up. So I'm going to go into my little cog and the duplicated one, and I'm going to hit accept, and then it's just going to freeze that curve in place. Now I'm going to go back into the front plane, and it's faced over like this, and I'm just going to move her over just a little bit, and I'm going to see if I can do this way. And modify topology, mirror, and weld. Perfect. Cool. And the reason why I did that is because whenever you look at these little antennas, all of these little dudes are in pairs right here. So now I have my little dudes in pairs. So now I've got the setup for my little subsections of antennas. Now I'll go in and make the big guy. So I'm going to go back into the bend curve because I haven't done anything because I erased the history. And I'm gonna lower the amount of little dots that I have for this curve, or little vertices for this curve. I'm gonna make this smaller, and I'll make this one smaller all the way down until it looks more like the antenna. And I'll actually kind of make it flatter too, because this antenna is kind of a little flat. And then just for the sake of evenness, cool. Now we have kind of like a flat antenna started. So I'm gonna take this one right here. I'll duplicate this just in case I wanted to make them different, but I'll go back to the first one and I'll just make them a little different. And we'll make sure that's not visible so it doesn't mess us up. Cool. And then I'll go in here and I'll hit accept. And that's going to be my antenna base. So then we'll take this one and let's unlock it, go to unmask mesh center and relock it and make it smaller. And these are still kind of a little round also. So I'll go back into my bend curve, and now it's going to apply to this entire mesh. And I'll go back to these that make it flatter, and we'll just make the whole thing just a little bit flatter. And then something else that we're gonna do here in just a moment is use that bend curve again. So to make these longer and shorter, but for now, I'm just going to accept it. So I'll grab my little dude and I'll turn my antenna on so that I can see it in the background, and I'll make it smaller and I'll rotate it until it's kind of like where I want it to be, and make sure that it goes along with this. And like I said, we're gonna go in here with our bend. I'm gonna duplicate it first, and then I'm gonna go in here with my bend curve. I'm gonna take this and I'm just gonna move it out. And because I'm still going to be having issues with moving things around, I'm just going to lock the screen on that camera so that way I'm not moving things too much. And now I can move this one, and we can do the same thing. And we'll just keep duplicating these. Alright, now that I've duplicated this chunk, I know that these are all going to end up being smaller. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and lock my view again, go back into my bend curve for each of these, and just kind of pull them back to the smallest one first, and then I'm going to hit Alt click to go to the next one, and they're already set up, and we'll just make them a little bit longer. And actually I'm going to make some of these even longer. Again, just Alt click to switch between them, makes it a whole lot easier. Unlock my screen, go back up, and I think the longest ones are going to be like right up here, so I think I want to go like this. So we'll just come in, Alt click this one, Front, back, make sure I'm locked in. Lock her out. Make that one a little bit longer. And then we'll just keep doing the same thing. Control-Shift-D to duplicate to make it faster. And I'm gonna stop with this one. This one right here will be our longest one. So I think it was this one. So we got a couple more to make a little bit longer, and then we're gonna drastically make them shorter. And delete that one too, that's too much. All right, so back to our bend curve tool, pull her out. All right, and now we can start making them shorter. Now this one has some over here. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to duplicate this again, but we're going to do something a little different. I'm going to push this up, and I'm going to push it in, and I'll mess with my bend curve like I have been doing. But I'm going to go into split, and I'm going to split to parts. So now I don't need this top one up here. So I'm just going to delete it. Go back into my move tool, and I'm going to unlock it, unmask center, relock. And now that I've done that, I'm going to zoom in. Now I'm going to duplicate these again, because if you look at this little antenna dude right here, all of these top ones are just single little dudes. So we'll Control-Shift-D, Control-Shift-D, pull them up. And now this is where the curve is going to drastically shift. Okay, so now we're going to do kind of the same thing. We're going to go back to here, do our bend curve. Yeah, bend curve right here. Do our bend curve, and we're going to pull this in. Okay, so now whenever we look at this and we frame up, we're starting to get there. Now we notice that we probably need to adjust some of the sizes on these things. May have made this just a little too large, but we can go back and fix that pretty easy. I am going to scale some of these down too, just to make them a little bit smaller. And the reason I'm doing it this way instead of just messing with the blend curve tool is because if you noticed with the curves we had, they were starting to like fudge up and get messed up with each other. So I just decided to do it this way. But I'm just unlocking it, moving it to the antenna, and then relocking it so that it's easier to scale down and not get crazy. And now that looks a little better. What I can do is I can duplicate these, and I can go to deformation, and I can mirror it, and then I can move it over. And you'll notice that this side is going to be a little bit shorter. So while I'm doing this, I'm going to do kind of the same thing and lock it and just make everything just a little bit shorter over here. We'll go back to our bend curve and pull some of these out because I would really like to keep some of this going. All right, we got to make sure that we apply the bend before we mirror it. Make sure it's still there. Okay, cool. And that way we can reapply a new bend. And now I'm just going to go through and kind of adjust this so that way the curves make a little more sense to me. And this is why we lock them sometimes. See, that one just don't look right. And we'll just make it kind of there. And you can go through and adjust these so that they're all kind of going in different directions if you want, just to add a little bit of, you know, spice. Yeah. I'm gonna make these a little bit shorter. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab all of these and organize them so that way all of the ones facing this way are facing that way. And I'm going to merge them down. And all of the ones that are facing that way are together, so I can merge them together, and you'll see. Make sure nothing's masked so that it's easier to see all of our little dudes. And we're almost there. Believe it or not. Now that I have those all together, I am going to undo the lock on this side, and I'm going to reset it, and I'll pull it right here to the middle, maybe to like the longest point. Lock it again, and we're just gonna pull this all in because I feel like it looked a little too short. And now we're going to mask all of this. I'm going to unlock it, pull it back up, mask all that, mask all this, unlock or keep it unlocked, lock it, and then just pull her in. Maybe rotate her just a little bit. Maybe make her go out just a little bit. Cool. And that's that side. And now we'll do this side. And I'm going to mask this side. And I'm going to do the same thing where I'm going to reset it, make it go to the middle, and then push it to the antenna. And we'll pull her in, because this side's got to be shorter. And then I'll unlock it and click, control click to invert the mask. Go up here and relock it and pull it in. And now we have an antenna. Now the next thing that I'm going to do to really merge this whole thing together, besides just merging it together, is I'm going to merge it all together. If you're using Dynamesh, I highly recommend using the highest resolution possible and a subprojection of 1. And then you're going to divide the geometry on this a couple times before you actually go in and do any modeling with it. But then you can smooth this out, inflate it, and that kind of gives a pretty cool effect with the way that the Dynamesh set it up. Makes it look a little more buggy, if you know what I mean. But then Dynamesh may also, if some of these things are too thin, you might end up with some of these issues. So you can go in before you Dynamesh and just kind of inflate some of these guys. And that's how you can avoid some of those issues. So whenever we Dynamesh all the way up, and that's a little bit better. Yeah, that fixed that. Cool. Same deal over here. It's probably just a little too thin, so we got some issues. And we can smooth this out. And we can go in and grab our snake hook tool. And you don't need to put on Sculptus Pro if you don't want to, but you can. And then you can pull it out and give it a little bit more of that classic buggy point that we all love so much. But yeah, that's an antenna. Thanks for watching.